My 240 project has been moving along pretty well so far, but the last week or so was absolutely grueling. The first day getting all the exterior body panels off was pretty easy, that didn't take too long, and then even the interior was pretty easy getting all that stuff out. But once I got to the paint, I really had no idea what I was doing. I enlisted the help of my dad, who sprayed a few things, but even after I spent 2 days masking the car, once I got to the paint, it was kind of a nightmare. We had a lot of problems with sags and drips in the paint. And part of it's because painting the interior of a car is actually pretty difficult. There's not a whole lot of space there, and we had a really hard time getting in between some of the spots on the roll cage. I even bought a smaller paint sprayer, and I've even had to paint some stuff with a brush. But I'm glad that that's all done for the most part. I might go back and touch up a few little spots. I'm gonna move on now and start putting stuff back in the car, but the first thing I need to do is fix up this dash. About 2 years ago, I pulled this dash out and I wanted to get it fixed up and looking really nice. So I got some of that Bondo padded dash filler and I filled in a bunch of the cracks that were on here. And for 6 months or so, it looked really good. And I don't know if I did it wrong or what, if it was a user error, but it cracked again, as you can see. And so I'm gonna cut this stuff out and try using some of that professional 2-part epoxy that comes in like the little squirt gun thing. So hopefully that'll be strong enough to keep it from cracking. And after that, I'm gonna flock it. I've never flocked a dash before, but I'm ready to learn something new. And yeah, we'll see, it doesn't look too hard. As usual, I'm gonna shoot a high quality version of this video on my Red, but I use it for Instagram, so it's vertical. But I'm a total camera nerd, so I got this little follow focus thing. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna use it. So this is actually a pretty good example. I'll be using this today. I'm gonna be standing here with the dash in front of the Red, and you never know if the focus is gonna wander, towards the dash, or if it's gonna be on my face. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what it's doing, but I got the little follow focus wheel here. You can see if I turn it one way, it goes behind me. If I turn it the other way, it goes in front of me. It's kind of cool. You can hold it right in front of the camera like that. But now I can choose exactly where I want the focus to be, exactly on my face. I can even hide this thing behind the dash. Nobody will even know I'm holding on to it, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. It's a new tool that I'm using, and they're only about 150 bucks for the whole thing, so I'll put a link in the description. I'm getting all the Bondo out, and it's going pretty easy with the Dremel tool actually, so even if I see some spots that have Bondo that aren't cracked, I'm still cutting them out. I can actually see under the paint, it's like almost a different texture where the Bondo was, so it's easy to find all that stuff. I just want to prevent it from cracking more, and I found a couple of little tiny spots that were starting to crack, so I cut those out too. Seems like most of it's all on the driver's side for some reason. I'm not sure if the way the car has been sitting in the sun over the last 20 years or whatever it was, but I should be starting to squirt some of that epoxy in here with that little 1-to-1 gun. Once you get it in there, you kind of just go over it with a little spreader like you would do with Bondo, let it dry, and then you can sand it a little bit. It'll probably take a couple layers to get it perfect, but then we'll flock it. The flock should help hide some of the imperfections hopefully, so hopefully it looks really nice. And I finally opened the flock. I don't know what I expected it to be exactly. Maybe more sandy material, kinda. I don't know, but it literally looks like somebody just took a blanket and just shaved it with a pair of clippers. It's very fuzzy. I never used this stuff before. I think with the caulking gun and the glue together, it had to be like 80 bucks. It's pretty freaking expensive, but I'm trying to do this the right way. I'm trying to do it legit, and I'm trying to do it once. So it's called Problem Plastic Repair Material. There you go. I got tons of problems, so hopefully we'll solve one today. I'm actually a little bit worried that I'm gonna run out of this stuff, mainly because not only it's so expensive, but to order some more of it's gonna take like 3 days or something. You got these cool tips that screw on the front of them. They basically mix the glue together inside. I bought a couple of them because once you use them once, they're dead. So let's see how it goes. I'm gonna try to film myself doing it on the horizontal camera and on the Komodo at the same time. So, well, we'll see. Wow, I suck at this. It would probably help if I cut the tip a little bigger. Oh geez, here we go. Kinda. All right, attempt 1 has been made. Hopefully this stuff is pretty sandable because I made an absolute mess out of it. Just trying to get it all in those crevices. The good thing is I feel like the crevices are very full, very, very full, and I think I only used about half of this, so the next round after I sand it should kind of just be, fine detailing it, and then maybe a third round to get any little pinholes. I'm about to put on layer 2 here on the epoxy. My hand was getting pretty cramped by using that caulking gun, and my dad brought over the table, so I took a little bit of break and went to dinner with him. But now I'm back. I'm gonna see if I can get this all wrapped up and hopefully maybe just even flock it tonight. So that'd be really nice. I don't wanna stay up too late, but I think there's time. I didn't end up flocking the dash last night. I decided to wait. It was getting a little bit late and I wanted to make sure I was on my A game. I didn't want to be doing it while I was tired. And then also the big reason was after I did that second coat of epoxy, the epoxy was taking forever to dry. After about 15 minutes, I got impatient, started sanding it, realized it wasn't dry, so I stopped, decided I was just gonna let it dry overnight so that it wasn't too mushy. Today, I need to bring some parts to powder coat. So I have the kick plates from the 240. I'm gonna have the strut bar on the E30 powder coated, the valve cover for the Quattro, and the timing belt cover for the Quattro. So I need to get the timing belt cover off the Quattro right now so that I can bring all that stuff over there. It's not very hard, I've done it before. It's just a couple of Allen wrenches, so we will see. I haven't really driven this car much in the last few months. I would like to. The blower motor is not working, so the heater works, but there's no air blowing from the vents unless you're doing like 60 on the freeway and it's just getting forced through. I bought a spare valve cover off of eBay to have it powder coated so I wouldn't have to take the valve cover off because I'm not actually sure when I'll have time to replace all those gaskets. I don't want the car sitting forever and I don't want to just like throw the new valve cover on and then have to take it off later and whatever. I kind of want to do that all at once, so I'll have the spare valve cover painted and then I'll just have it sitting. That timing belt cover was a little bit harder to get off than I expected, but not too crazy. Here's the valve cover. I bought this for $100 and hopefully I'm not shooting myself in the foot here because it's a little bit rusty, but I think it's about as good of condition as mine on the car right now, so I'm sure it'll look real nice once I get it back. Of course, this is a great time to look at the timing belt. It's not in terrible shape. It definitely needs to be replaced. I have no idea when the last person did it. My plan, early 2025, is to pull the entire motor, change the clutch. The clutch needs to be changed really badly. Do a complete refresh on everything, new gaskets, new sensors that I haven't replaced, and of course, timing belt, and also fix the fueling system. So that'll be in the spring of 2025, hopefully, and I hope this car will be running in tip-top shape. All the parts are dropped off at the powder coat. I decided at the last second that I'm not gonna paint the strut bar for the E30. I'm actually gonna wait and paint it gloss black when I paint the engine bay gloss black on that car with my newfound confidence with my automotive paint sprayer. So hopefully that'll look pretty nice. I'm excited to get back and flock that dash, so let's not delay any longer. So the dash is about as smooth as it's gonna get. It's got a few little pinholes here and there in the epoxy, but I don't think it's a big deal. The flock and the glue should kind of fill those in and cover up some of the tiny little imperfections. I wouldn't even be surprised if you can't see this SRS airbag logo afterwards. I'll be curious to see. But you fill up this mini flocker with flock, and then you have 10 minutes to put all the glue on and spread it all over the entire dash, which is a pretty big surface. Pretty much just pump this thing and the flock comes out the little holes and hopefully spreads all over the place and sticks to the glue. So I'm a little bit nervous because you really only got one shot at this. I'm not sure what you do if you mess it up, but I probably should have asked one of my friends to help me, but I don't know why. I just can't bring myself to do that. So let's go for it. They probably could have given us a bigger paintbrush here. I did major in graphic design in college, so I took a lot of art classes. All right, timer's gone off. I don't really see a lot of signs of the glue being dry yet. It still seems pretty wet, so that's good. I think the temperature in here is helping for sure. Let's see what happens. Oh, interesting. It's very thin and light, much more than I expected. It's pretty cool. Damn it. Put it over here. I'm so happy with the flocking so far. I think it came out really good. I mean, if the dash goes back in the car and still looks like it does now, it turned out awesome. So it wasn't really as hard as I thought. I was a little bit worried about being pressed for time. Honestly, I think I probably flocked it for half an hour, not 10 minutes, and it seemed like the stuff is still sticking. Now I'm supposed to let it sit for about 15 hours and dry. I probably won't even put it in the car for 2 or 3 days. I want to make sure it's nice and dry. So that went really well. As soon as it starts coming out of that little thing and sticking, like it was so exciting, it looks really cool and fuzzy. So really pumped on that. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do next. I guess I probably need to put the door panels back in and keep sorting out this wiring, but I'm gonna let this chill for a little bit and then I'll get back to whatever's next. I'm gonna polish up the lens on my cluster. It actually pops off pretty easily, and then I'm just gonna use like some typical plastic polishing stuff to see if I can make it look a little bit nicer. Dang, I wasn't expecting much, but that one little spot looks amazing already. Definitely worth spending a few minutes on this. Hopefully by using this plastic polish, I can make the lens look brand new. I hadn't really thought of this, but the instructions say you can use an orbital buffer, so maybe I'll give that a shot, probably speed things up, and maybe I can get some of these deep scratches out. You probably can't see it on the video, but there's a pretty good scratch right here going like up and down right in the middle of the cluster, so maybe I can get that out. Let's give it a shot. This thing looks really shiny now. It didn't quite get rid of the scratch, but I didn't even notice it until I took it out of the car. I mean, you're sitting like this far away from it. It's really not that visible. So I think I'm pretty happy with it for now. I don't feel like cutting it down with 800 grit sandpaper and, you know, doing that whole thing. You're really just taking away material and making it thinner and thinner. So somebody should just like make brand new ones of these. I feel like they could do that super cheap and make an absolute killing. Once cars are 30 years old like mine is, these clusters don't hold up too well. They used kind of these weird like paper thin things on the back, which, I mean, I guess it's most of the thing is still working, but some of the lights aren't coming on, and you can actually use a 9-volt battery to test a few things like this. And just perfectly enough, I've kind of like looked through these lines to see what goes where, and there's 2 little solder joints that I think if I hold the battery there, look at that. So this left light isn't coming on. I'm not really sure why, but oh, the polarity is reversed. So if I flip the battery over and use the polarity, well, that's an easy fix. The other thing I noticed though is the clock light's not working down there on the tack. So I might just take some wire and jumper it from this solder joint down to where the solder joints are on the clock light. So let's see if I can do that. I just took a positive terminal from one of the LEDs that was working and jumpered it with a wire over to the backlight of the clock, and now it seems to be working perfectly, so I think it's ready to go. I've started routing the power wire back through the car because I want to get everything kind of turned on and working as soon as possible so I can start checking things and making sure I've plugged in everything. Some of this stuff, if it's not plugged in, the car is just not going to run. It's also a really good time to go through all the different components and make sure a lot of this wiring and things are actually being used. I just found the cruise control module, which I don't know if it's ever worked in the car since I've owned it. So I'm going to be pulling out that ECU and also pulling the wires out of the harness. There's probably 20 wires coming out of it. So that's definitely some simplification that I can add. So the car just passed a test that I wasn't 100% sure exactly what was going to happen, but I needed to prove it to myself, was that the car would still start with just the fuel pump plugged in and the fuse box grounded, and that's all it did, and it fired right up. So I can safely kind of continue along unplugging some things as I go. There's already tons and tons of wires unplugged. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be anything that I cut or removed that was going to keep the car from running. That way now I can just keep pulling stuff out, test firing the car, and making sure that we're all good, because that would really suck to cut a bunch of stuff out and then realize that the car doesn't run and have to start soldering stuff back in. I don't even know what I'd do at that point. I've been trying to find the wiper amplifier on my car, and maybe the reason I haven't found it is because there isn't one in my car. The wiper motor works just fine, but the auto return and the delay on my wipers doesn't work. So every time I want to stop my wipers, I have to stop them exactly at the bottom of the window, you know, like where you want them. I was just digging around and found this box. I don't think this is the wiper amplifier. The sticker on here that has the only possible part number is pretty deteriorated. I'm like a detective here trying to uncover like a secret fingerprint. Wiper amplifier assembly was literally a suggested result. All right, so hilariously, that rattling sound was dirt and rocks. I'm not sure how that happened. This thing actually looks like it's in pretty good condition. And you know, there's a chance that maybe it wasn't just plugged in all the way. Maybe I messed it up or something last time I had the cluster out, but it literally stopped working when I did my SR swap, which was, I don't know, 5 years ago. You see that? You see how they don't go back down? That's what I'm talking about. So that didn't fix it. I'm gonna keep digging. I don't think this is it. I'll plug this thing back in, put it back in its little box, but there's no way there's this many circuits just for an auto return on a wiper. I don't believe that. It's gotta be something different. I took the weekend off from the car to spend some time with my family, you know, the important stuff. The good news is the dash is all dry now, so I was able to dust it off and put it in the car. The only bummer is I was a little impatient and I wanted to get some shots of it for my Instagram video, so I just kind of set it in there for now, but it needs to come back out again so I can finish up the wiring that I started under there. Next week's video will probably be me getting all that wiring tidied up. Might be a little boring, we'll see, maybe not. Maybe it'll be pretty cool, but I'm gonna put the door panels back in, put the delete panels back in, which means officially you'll be able to see what color the car is gonna be because I'm gonna do some of the delete panels the same color as the exterior. I did, however, figure out which plug goes to my wiper amplifier, which means my car doesn't have one. Obviously, that's why the wipers aren't working properly. I'm gonna take a look above my storage bins and see if I can find the wiper amp. Maybe I tossed it in there, but I've got a pretty bad feeling that I probably just threw it away when I did my SR swap, not realizing what it was. After I get all that stuff wrapped up, we can throw the seats in it and the interior will be pretty much done for the most part. So I'm really excited to move on and go to the exterior because I'm getting a little bit tired of climbing in this thing. But thanks for watching and I'll catch you on the next one.